Good morning. My name is Rue Morris.
Good morning, Rue.
Whenever you're ready. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the document that gives all Americans the right to be free. Perhaps the most important of these amendments is the very first. It provides that Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech or of the press. The First Amendment is seen by many as the very cornerstone of our democracy, but have we reached a point in our society where it's possible to have too much freedom of the press? A group called the Freedom Forum asked this very question each year in a survey they called the State of the First Amendment. In 2002, 49% of people surveyed believed that the press was given too much freedom, more than double the results in 2000. Clearly, there is a growing and now widespread sentiment that the press is abusing its First Amendment rights. And what has caused people to feel this way? I believe that the cause is not freedom of the press in theory, but rather freedom of the press in practice. In the past, journalists were free to practice their trade with integrity. Today, however, they face a number of new issues that threaten to compromise these principles. One of the biggest threats in journalism today is competition among news outlets. Newspapers and TV stations spring up today in a very competitive society. The result often is that many journalists rush to get their version of the story out before someone else does. And when pressed for time, many a journalist will neglect to verify his or her facts. And then after reading many different versions of one story, readers begin to wonder which is actually true, and why journalists, the very representatives of truth, aren't finding out the real truth themselves. Many journalists will also go to great lengths to obtain their information, often overstepping their bounds. I'm sure we've all seen reporters barging their way into accident scenes, protests, and sports games in an attempt to gain the latest information before everyone else. To many Americans, journalists seem to invade the privacy of citizens, exploit them for their own purposes, and then carelessly move on to the next story. There seems to be a growing lack of respect for privacy these days, and in many cases, the journalists allow this to influence their actions. However, the press does have the ability to police itself. A form of censorship is actually always in effect to nearly all journalists. There is an old saying that says, freedom of the press is guaranteed only to those who own one, and it is true. The only people with completely unrestricted First Amendment rights are those who own media outlets. They choose how much press freedom to give their employees, and thus have the responsibility of choosing how the First Amendment rights are utilized in the newsroom. So the press does have the ability to police itself, but is it doing a good job of it? Do you agree with the results of the Freedom Forum poll, or do you think the press is fine, just the way it is? I must confess that I can't view the issue without a certain bias, because I want to make journalism my career. But I do want to write for a press that writes responsibly. I want to bring integrity into the field with me so that one day it won't be an issue. Walter Lippmann, who won a Pulitzer Prize, once said, "Freedom of the press is not a privilege, but an organic necessity in a great society." I believe this wholeheartedly. Congress shouldn't censor or abridge freedom of the press, as it promises in the First Amendment. Rather, journalists should write responsibly and write the truth, not what will earn them money or gain them prestige. I believe in a free press, but only in a free press that takes responsibility for everything it prints and never sacrifices its integrity for its own personal gain. That is the only way to prove Mr. Lippmann correct, and I intend to do so. Thank you.